Yeah. All right.
Good morning. Welcome back to
Yeah.
our channels.
Yeah. So we were just having
Same.
a conversation about channeling before we started here. So I wanted to make sure we were recording and get what you're about to say. So just a little preface, I was just talking about the different ways of channeling and how there's kind of the, hypnotic state channeling like I do. And then there's kind of the, more conscious, I guess I would say, where, someone like Daryl Anka, where he channels Bashar and they kind of just deep breath and they're there. And then there's the channeling of, where you're just receiving downloads or messages or images, whatever. And then the next also, I think, where people are a lot less aware that they're channeling is, through music or movies, or getting script ideas, whatever it is, those type of things where kind of creative ideas. And then you were
Creative
about
ideas.
to, yeah,
What was I saying?
you were about to say something. I cut you off so we could record, and so sorry
It's
if I
okay.
didn't make you lose the
We'll
thought.
we'll, we'll get there for sure. So your songs
Yeah,
that you made recently,
yeah.
was it like in the past 2 months?
The Christmas songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made those all since October, I guess.
Mhm.
Right around Halloween, I started them.
How did that come about? Like, did you
I
channel that?
meditated and asked what I should be doing with my life. So they said make some Christmas song.
Make some
Um,
Christmas songs.
yeah. And I don't know. I mean, part of it's probably to keep me busy. Part of it's probably, to get me in the music. I don't know.
Okay,
But
so that's where it stems from. You have the desire,
oh yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So maybe the question could be, how can I either start a creative process, or what should I do? What direction should I move? Or how am I going to start channeling? It's the desire.
That, yeah. Well, I think the first part is the awareness and then the desire, because you have to know about it to want to do it. Some people,
Is it the
uh,
awareness of channeling?
yeah, I mean, I didn't even know what channeling was prior to 2020. I mean, I've probably heard of it before in passing, but never really knew,
Mm.
that type of thing. So I think the awareness comes first, and then, you got to believe in it too. You got to, accept that what is happening, and and as I've progressed through understanding that they're charlatans, understanding that there's people who are, being given information that may not be for the greatest and highest good of the world. They may not be channeling who they think they're channeling. I don't know exactly how all those things work. I'm not 100%, but I know that there are, there's steps that I take to make sure that I'm not getting interference. And I don't know that everybody is doing that, I guess, is the best way I would. And the reason I know that is because, Raya has explained to me these are the steps to take to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so we do make sure that we do that every time, which is, calling in Jesus and the archangels to protect the space. There's the crystals involved, the kind of just the intent of keeping it, sealed off from any outside interference and that sort of thing, where, if you're not doing that, you're susceptible to whatever's out there that can interfere. So
Right. I think the topic of the dark entities, or the intelligent darkness, I guess, I don't know how to call it, is getting a lot more attention. I mean,
yeah.
it's probably because we don't want it, and also because maybe the presence of it is just undeniable.
Well, and I think we just have to be aware of it too, because I think a lot of people just assume all channeling is benevolent, right? It's all, you know,
It's all good. It's all
yeah,
angels.
yeah, it's all exactly. And I don't know how far it goes. I don't know if they will lie to you and tell you that they're an angel, or lie to you and tell you that there's some, I don't know if it works like that. I have no idea.
Uh, right, that's a
So,
good question, because that's what I am still questioning with the Moses that experience that I had.
well, and and I did want to talk to you about that because, and so it's interesting too, because so one of the things that I channeled is if a message comes off with any kind of fear, and that's, kind of a relative thing too. I can explain that, but like tomorrow there's going to be a meteor that hits, that type of like fear inducing channeling. They were like, that's never going to be us talking. I'm assuming about the angels realm is what they're saying. So that leaves a lot of other realms that could be more than willing to, you know, give those sort of messages. Or, you know, like we said before, maybe people lie. I don't know how it works. I don't fully understand all that yet, and I'm curious, you know, how that would be, because you know, you said, you know, maybe tell your story real quick so people can catch up with what happened.
Right. I just want to ask you with the fear,
Mhm.
when you channel, did you have a feeling of like you got a bit scared or concerned? Oh, that's too intense, or wow, what a loud like voice, you know, or with this urgency or some kind of like really strong, you know, imposition on you, like, yeah, listen to me.
um it's a good question, because
Like it would catch you off your guard, right? Like, oh, right. It's wow, I
so
do have to pay attention now. It's like very strong.
I get that stuff all the time,
Me
and
too.
I'm still trying to distinguish if it's kind of my ego or my higher self pushing me to do things, you know, kind of that, or maybe my guy. I know, like when I was doing the book, they'd be like, "You should be typing now. You should be typing now." Every time I was doing something else,
Okay,
so I would
but
get stuff like that, but never like
that's
the
more
fear.
gentle.
Yeah, I mean, but see, this is what's so okay, for example, and I don't know, I'm not 100% sure. This could have been, or I could have been my, you know, I didn't ask. So, but just an example of what I'm talking about. I was, you know, debating whether I was going to do yoga the one day, and or no, it wasn't debate. I was in the middle of yoga, and I was debating how long of yoga I was going to do. And in the middle of my session, I'm like, all right, I think I'm about done. And they're like, really, pussy? You just had all this Thanksgiving food and all these other things. You're gonna be done now. And so I'm like, all right, fine, we'll go longer. So that's just one of those, like, I don't know, you know, is that me making myself, pushing myself, or is that I don't. So there's, you know, there's times like that where I get those type of messages where I wouldn't say it's fear, but they're not talking to me nicely. But it's also, I understand, how should I say it? Whoever's speaking to me knows how to motivate me, I guess is the
Mhm.
proper way to say it. So it's not, you know, it may not come out, if somebody said those same words to you, it may come off as like, oh my God, what an asshole or something. But to me, I'm just like, okay, I get it. They're motivating me or whatever it is. So
So I think the more experience with these or more encounters you have, the more attuned you become to what is yours, whether
right.
it is your um I would call it a director, or yeah, in your head,
Well, and
thinking
usually I
that you.
ask, but sometimes it's like with that type of stuff, it's like, I'm just gonna, the
Right.
information was clear and apparent what needs to happen. It doesn't really matter where it comes from, type of thing. But that was just an example of where they're not so nice. But I don't know that fear inducing would be. See, I think I tend to feel like the fear inducing is when you're lower vibration and you're susceptible to the negative, you know, interrupting your thought process and that sort of thing. But I'm curious, tell your story with the Moses thing, because I would love to dive into that if you're willing.
Yeah, also this was definitely not something I made up
Yeah,
as my self-talk.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's not like you're going to the fridge and it's like, oh, I shouldn't. And then, you know, there's this like the self-critic, you know, because it would be one of the things. No, you shouldn't have one more chocolate, you know, and yeah,
yeah.
I do, and so on, right? It's not this. It was just like I don't even know how. So usually I would get up before 6. I'm not sure why. And I go to sleep past 12 or sometimes close to 1. So I'm not getting much sleep.
Hmm.
Maybe a year ago, I would sleep easily like 8 hours. You know, now it's like what, between 1 and 6, like 5 hours sleep. And I am going every day like this on 5 hours sleep, which is very interesting. So
Yeah.
my energy level is so different. I'm wondering why. And so my kids are still sleeping. It's dark because it's the winter. And, you know, I try to either meditate or whatever it is that I feel at that moment when it's still dark, right? And mm, I don't know how I found myself asleep, but then awake. It wasn't dream. So something woke me up to my conscious state, but I was still asleep. So what is it when you're kind of in between?
I think it's that like because it's more about like your brain wave, state, right? So I believe that you're in that like probably in that theta, delta, or maybe in alpha, somewhere in there, because delta is awake state, I think. So, or no, delta is asleep. Theta is channeling, alpha is kind of, so you're probably in between like alpha and theta. So those are the states where you're picking up
I
information.
have no clue. It was just like you wake up and you start opening your eyes, right? And then you're
Yeah.
like, okay, so I'm awake, and you kind of like roll and look around, and then maybe I don't know what everybody else is doing, but I would, okay, so it's the meditation, but am I going to sit, or am I going to still lie down, or am I going to listen to just like sound or some guided meditation, or just like sit and just like have these thoughts? Maybe there is maybe some good downloads or not. I don't know. I'm always never expecting, but something always happens, right? I just developed this kind of routine
Mhm.
early right after I wake up. So that's the funny thing. All of a sudden, I'm back to sleep with in this state that you just described, and I saw myself from above, how I'm lying in my bed, all curled up, like I'm some kind of, like I'm in an egg. When you are, imagine that you would be put in an egg, you have to like curl. I'm not sure. So um then I saw myself back in my own body, or perceiving myself from back from inside my body, and I saw this thing, huge being, just appears in front of me, but I had my eyes closed, so I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping. I was
Uh-huh.
so fully aware. It was weird, I can't describe it. It never happened to me. So it was really strong voice, um and it had something, like, something holding, and it was like reading it, shouting at me, and it kept going, and I was like, what the heck is this? And it just kept talking, and all I heard was very, very blurry messages, till it got closer, or like more refined, said, you shall not kill. And I was definitely scared, and I'm like, do I did I kill, or why is this telling me this, and then it like was passing. So it was blurry, very clear, and then passing blurry again, sound. But it was still so loud, and it's like, I don't want to leave, I don't want to leave. And then I wanted to go because it was scary. Now I mm, know that it was 10 commandments, and at the same time I was asking Jesus Christ, like, is this is so scary, is this real, like, is it something dark, or is it, because I at the same time had like million thoughts running through my head, is it Moses, because that's the only thing I know that had 10 commandments. And so all of a sudden, as I was curled up, like in this kind of position, imagine, and I felt some strong light, like an asteroid would hit me right in between my heart and my solar plexus. And I know, like, I exploded, just like myself in this sleep still, because I know I was asleep, but I wasn't. I
Yeah.
could, I experienced it as like from the perception of like looking at myself, but also feeling it, how it exploded in my body, and it was so much light,
Hmm.
so much light. And it was so much light I couldn't even open my eyes, and I at that point I really wanted to kind of like open my eyes and see what's going on, but I knew it wasn't like in my room, so I know it's just in my head. And um when you go to the doctor and they would give you these electric shocks, and then you see these people in movies like really jerk, right? That
Yeah.
was me exactly with this light, and just exploded. And then it would like pick me up and throw me back in my on my mattress,
Hmm.
and I just like And then I woke up some
Interesting.
hours later. And then when I woke up, I was like, this happened.
Yeah.
What is this for?
I'm curious because I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is that the Ten Commandments would not be in alignment with any beings that I've met so far. The, maybe I could get on board with the thou shall not kill and steal, but the covet and the, no gods before my, all that jazz, that's not the people I've met. So I don't know how that would coincide with that, but I also know, so for example, um like when I've met Jesus or channeled Jesus and stuff, he always looks the same, right? He has that same beard and the hair and the red sash and the little like tan looking, robes and stuff. And I asked about that. I'm like, so why, do these people always appear the same? Well, they were like, okay, so if he showed up with a shaved head and a goatee in some biker gear, would you know who he was? And it's like, okay, message received, right? So people appear so that you know who they are. And so maybe the Ten Commandments was just so that you knew that that was Moses giving you the message, not necessarily that he was, you know, that the Ten Commandments are true or false or good or bad or any other part of it, rather than just to tell you that that was who that was. Maybe.
It wasn't, yeah, up until today, when I asked, even this morning, I don't feel comfortable about it, but I didn't get specific, like, yes, it was dark, or yes, it was light being. Um, but it wasn't okay.
So
So
what do you think was the overall? Well, one, I wanted to go back to something you said, and I can't remember what it was now. You said
I
it
know
made
it
me.
was just shouting. It was like so loud. Like if you get angry, it was angry. It was angry.
You think he was angry with you,
Yeah. No,
or just
I don't
angry in
know.
general?
Because at the same time, I feel like this light came right when I asked, oh my gosh, is this dark? That's all I could like, think in that, or ask in that moment. I wasn't kind of like, how should I ask this? So I just asked, is this dark? And then this light just came like,
So maybe it was clearing you. Maybe it was something dark. That
so
was,
I feel like it kind of wanted to protect me. I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know really. It's weird because it's like at the same time when it was passing, then this light came. So it was like this light came to protect me, to just like inject this light and clear up maybe, and then it send it away. I don't know, but the commandments are clear as hell. I mean, you shall not kill. I mean, I bet then, do I kill?
Did you kill a bug or something earlier in the day, or?
No, exactly. No. Um, so why would Moses? Okay, I do have something. I'm not sure why, but I do feel some connection to those times of Moses. I don't know how. And he, I know, was very authoritative. I know that.
Well, and that's the other thing I think we have to keep in mind too is, our perception is a big part in the way, just like when you receive a text message, whatever mood you're in, that's how you're going to read that text message, right? So regardless of however the person intended it to come across, if there's no punctuation or something, you're going to read that in whatever, mood you're in. So understanding too that, people can come off as, maybe intimidating or whatever. Like people told me that my whole life, like, and I never understood it. Like you're scary, and I'm not trying to be. It's just, I guess, how I come across to people, is intimidating or whatever. But so I think that maybe the level of, but I think going back to the point I wanted to make is, um, one of the reasons that they have told me why, there's not a lot of alien or ET contact or, enter or extra dimensionals or whatever you want to call them is, mentally we may think that we wouldn't be afraid, or that, it wouldn't scare us to meet these beings or whatever else. but like they've said to me before, their energy is something whole different level, that is maybe, and that's why you felt that way, is that energy is just so overwhelming, or maybe it was, a bad energy. I don't know for sure, but I do know that they've explained that to me before, that people think that, oh, I'll be fine seeing this, but they don't understand the energetic, exchange that happens and how overwhelming that can be for us if we're not, more prepared for it, I guess.
And now came that it was a preparation,
Oh yeah.
because as you are saying, it's like very different. And what we are used to is this kind of talk when people are talking, well, way softer than when the guides are talking to you, or let's say when they're urging you.
Right.
I mean, if their message is about something to soothe you, yes, they are going to talk to you differently than when they are trying to give you this message to maybe give you
Motivate.
not lesson, but what?
Motivate.
Yeah, or or just like, you got to understand this.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it would be more of that, just like a parent, right?
Well,
No,
and that's
I
what I'm
I
I'm
can't
curious.
have you touch this because you're gonna
Right.
cut yourself or destroy, or cut your finger off or lose it or something, right? So you do need to speak more firmly.
Well, and I think that, all my communication with any spirit or anything is always very matter of fact. There's no fluff, there's no sugarcoating. It's just,
Yes.
here's the information, take it or leave it, so maybe sometimes the way we've been coddled in society, that can come off as gruff, or, so, and I get it. I come off that way a lot. I speak the same way. So I think that people can interpret it wrong, so it's, down to, and then combine that with that energy that you're talking about. That's probably half of it. Hopefully it's all benevolent, and it's not anything.
Uh, I think so, actually. I think so because I mean, I was passing through this shadow. I was dealing with a lot of shadow work, or I was doing the work, so doing the shadow work. So I wasn't in the highs of the energies,
Mm.
right? But then it's very surprising that this would come right after I cut the cords with my parents.
Interesting.
And one of the commandments that is right before "you shall not kill" is to, what is it, like, honor your mother and father or something like that.
Yeah, right. And you can
So I
see
was
how it's
like,
just elements of control.
maybe it was trying to tell me like, you fuck up. But at the same time, you know what? I do have my free will, and I had to do it just for a little bit of time. It's not like I'm gonna condemn them for forever. But you do need to separate yourself a little bit if you have to.
All right. Well, they're bothering me right now, so I have to get this message out. So, um, the way we can protect ourselves from negative energies and negative entities is to create the intent that when negative energy comes to us, it is to be transmuted into love. So they know that if they're coming to us, it's because they want to be transmuted. Otherwise, they're not going to mess with us. So have that intent to always be transmuting any negative energies into love. And that's your intent for any time you come in contact with those energies. And then you won't have to worry about them, in theory.
So that means,
Just always have the intention of, if negative energies come in contact with you, the reason they're doing it is to transmute into love. So that way you're not taking them on, they're not able to attack you, they're not able to affect you. The only reason that they have any, so it's the same thing as kind of the opposite of, if you are being affected by negative energies or whatever, and you want them to leave, you can ask them to leave, or you can love them, right? Like truly love them, and they will leave or they will transmute. So if your intent is that anytime negative energy comes to me, it is to transmute. And then that way, if they come to you, they will transmute. Otherwise, they will leave you alone.
that's what it was then. Yeah, as I thought. It was a preparation. So yeah, I was trying to understand what it is for me, what you were saying, because it was like general message, right? I don't understand unless 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 I customize it to myself or personalize it.
Yeah.
See, I knew it. It wasn't feeling good, but then it comes disguised.
Right. And that's where we have to be sharp and understand, you got to go with your gut. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. But also understanding what's right, I guess, is kind of, because when I was channeling Araya the first few times, my body, it felt like when you are extremely cold and you can't stop shivering. Like I just felt like I was like this the whole time. And like I was chattering, but I wasn't really cold. It was just like the energy was so intense. So understand that it's not necessarily, that doesn't feel right. Right. But it wasn't like a negative feeling either. It wasn't something my body was like, oh, this is great. This feels, it was uncomfortable for sure. It's uncomfortable like when you are, freezing cold and you shiver. It was that sort of uncomfortable, but it wasn't like you were saying where you felt this, negativity or whatever. If you feel that, I would trust that over anything else.
That's it. Yep. Trust myself. And that's why I said it's a preparation.
Yeah.
I think if it's like I've never seen Star Wars, but it's like in every kind of movie, even these superhero movies, when there is like an attack and then all of a sudden this just like superhero jumps and with this sword and it's like lightning, right? Like Excalibur, like protecting you. That's how I felt. Like it came like an asteroid, right?
Yeah.
And then it exploded. So then funny enough, as I said, anyway, it didn't feel okay. And I asked, is it dark? Then it came this shock of energy, and then it left, and I felt kind of like it was protecting me. And then I woke up. Then I was questioning it. And I think it's because I don't trust myself. Many times that's what they kind of are waiting for me to go through these experiences so that I can distinguish which one is which one, so that I can discern better. And then I can start believing or trusting myself that I am able to detect it myself, and then so protect myself, and then call them if I need, or they are here, and to trust that they are here. So this is the whole process I'm going through, and I'm sure there are so many other people that are going through the same thing.
Well, and I think it kind of leads back to what I was saying in the beginning of, when you're channeling, you want to make sure you're getting the information that you think you're getting from the person or entity that you think you're getting it from. So making sure that, Jesus and Archangel Michael and these other, entities are present, or whoever else you feel comfortable with, in that situation, making sure that they're there, keeping that place safe so that there isn't any interference. And that's probably the same type of idea that you're kind of going,
yes,
or maybe getting ways
and
to
I think
protect
that's
yourself.
good to make contact or make relationship with some particular one that is always there. So it could be, okay, I want always this, maybe maybe Jesus, maybe Mike, sorry, it's not Mikhail. What is it? I'm still
Michael,
Michael. Translating it into like more German. I don't know why, Jesus. So
is
I
Jesus
don't know,
pronounced Jesus in German, or is there a different?
because I don't know. I
Are
don't
you
know.
from Germany originally? I never asked where your origin
No,
was.
you never
Oh,
really asked. No,
no, sorry.
it's
I'm a terrible
it's
friend.
what is Jesus? Mm, I don't know, but it's Mikhail.
Is the archangel?
So it's Michael. I always have to. But for me, Michael is like Jackson, but not Archangel. Anyway, so Michael, and it could be your own personal something that you
Right.
make a relationship with, and then you make sure that they are there to protect you.
Yeah, and I mean everybody's got their guardian angels that they can call upon. Everybody's got their own spirit guide teams and whatever else that they can call upon. And Jesus is always open to have a relationship with everybody as far as he's told me. So but it's just so interesting. And even still, I have this like, when I say Jesus and my relationship with it, I still have this like kind of religious overtone that, still from my conditioning over the years, and like there's this religious Jesus, and then there's like the Jesus that I've encountered and stuff, and they're similar but also vastly different. There's not one shred of wanting to be worshipped or seen as above you or anything like that from the Jesus that I've met. That's very much the religious type of distortion, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's very different than what I was used to, and it still is kind of weird for me, kind of overcoming my own conditioning, I guess.
Well, it's to believe that you're nothing else but the same divine being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, just his interpretation of what he is, and the distortions that have been presented through the Bible of him
Yeah.
dying for our sins and all these different crazy ideas, and him I don't know, it just puts him on like this sort of like pedestal in the religion, when he's just like, hey, I'm just like exactly what you guys are doing, I was
Well,
doing
he
again,
was
type of thing.
super pure. We
Yeah.
aren't, right? We are the sinners. But again, the sinners are just because we went through
And
human lives. He
and I
never
don't buy the
did.
center. I don't buy any of that stuff. I think that's completely made up by religion in order to control people. I think that we come here on Earth with this, and the more I even talk about it with people and go through these discussions and stuff, my needle is starting to move to the point where I don't think that anything is really off limits. I don't even know that thou shalt not kill or any of those things would be on I really think it's Earth is very much understood to be is what it is, right? There is no permanent death. There's no permanent destruction. There's this learning playground that we go through to learn all these different lessons. If we didn't kill people, if we didn't eat animals, if we didn't do these things, we wouldn't learn these lessons. And these lessons have to be learned in order to go. All of the things that have happened and will happen have to happen in order to experience and learn that the lessons that come with them. So for us to say that we shouldn't kill, or we shouldn't have war, we shouldn't have this, or we shouldn't do that, like, it's really limiting the possible lessons and exploration of consciousness that is really the goal of this planet, right? So
Yeah, but
to
at the
have all
same
these
time,
limitations doesn't make sense to me.
oh, so if that's what you understand it as, and it can, but you are not even trying to kill the fruit flies that are,
Right, but that's my own
around.
journey is what I'm saying. Like the
But that's what you
consciousness
shall not
journey.
kill, right? So again, if you assign it this kind of religious, or the condemnation of, if you kill, you're going to be the sinner, and it's
Right,
the deadly sin and so on.
I don't kill because
Mm,
I don't think it's right for me personally. Now,
that's it.
that's not to say you come to my front door and want problems, I will murder anybody I have to with no problem eating a sandwich on your dead body. I don't care. But I'm saying I'm not looking for trouble, and I don't want to kill anything if I don't have to, but
Right.
I'm not averse to violence or doing what I have to do to protect myself or my family. That to me is, I'm not to turn the other cheek, dude. Like,
No, well, but
not,
when it was, when he came, I don't know this whole story, how he climbed this hill or mountain, and then he was reading it or something, right? Like, or preaching it. Again, if you put yourself into that setting, you don't know what exactly was going on, right? So if I just get mad and I just like slash you, that's not okay. But if you
right.
have a reason, so maybe that's where it came from. You know, if you don't think twice and you just like go and like shoot somebody, as there are still people doing that, right? Just
All right.
because you get mad and you just like
Yeah.
punch or somebody, and you don't even care whether it's a kid or a man, right?
Yeah.
So that's the wrong
It's
thing, but it's
it's what we were talking about with freedom earlier. There's that responsibility too, and understanding, like,
yeah, but a
why
lot
am
of
I
people are
killing?
acting based on so much of their instincts,
Right.
right? And if we understand that that's why he said that, then it's all good, you know.
Yeah. But like the fruit fly, for instance, why would I kill the fruit fly? The fruit fly, for all he's doing is flying
Well,
around
because you
in
have the
what he
higher
knows is his
consciousness.
environment, right? He didn't, all he did is stumble into the wrong environment by accident. So I'm not going to murder. If I want to stumble into the wrong environment by accident, I hope that people don't murder me. But if that same fruit fly comes and bites me, I'm going to kill him. And there's not going to be any questions about it. So that there's that line, of understanding there's being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I'm forgiving of that.
Yes.
And then there's intruding on my freedom, or, making my life worse or whatever it is. then that's a different line to cross. If you put my family's life in danger or something, I will not have any hesitation to kill you and not feel anything about it. If it came to that point, is what I'm saying. Not like I'm looking for that type of
No,
situation
no,
or
no.
anything.
We
But
understand.
if it came to that point, I have no hesitation. I'm not worried about the karma or anything like that. Like, I don't think that it works like that at all. I think that we in this third dimension reality have this very duality. It has to be good or bad.
Uh,
It's either you did this and you're wrong, or you didn't and you're right. And I don't believe that at all. I believe that this creator that's created all of this, incredible universe and world and everything else that we live in would have some nuance in mind and say, hey, if there's a good reason, like, do you think it's wrong to kill an animal if that's your only way to survive? That's what we put here to do, is survive, right? So it doesn't really make sense to me that we would be punished for doing something that is, it just, if you really zoom out and think about it, it doesn't make any sense. And then if you go a step further and think about Earth as this evolutionary school, as we talked about, then it really doesn't make any sense when we all know that we don't really die, that we're all just here as a temporary proposition, and death is part of the human experience. So how it happens or whatever else, it really doesn't matter
well, the
on the
higher
cosmic level.
consciousness that you adopt little by little is that you prevent things like this, right? So you don't have to find yourself in a situation where you have to, like, should I kill or should I not my neighbor because he or she are endangering my family?
Yeah,
You don't even get to that situation to have to decide, right?
exactly.
And that's the thing. So if you are, for example, when I would look at my life and damn, I made such wrong decisions, right? Well, why did I do them? I had to learn, so I did this, and maybe in a sense I killed, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm not even facing these decisions because I am in a completely different state of my mind, for example, state of my heart. So I'm not putting myself into these situations, which a lot of times we would say, well, the self-love is also about respecting yourself, so you don't put yourself into uncomfortable situations.
Well, and this is what I believe also. You incarnate on this planet with a list of lessons that you're going to learn.
True.
As from the time you're born until the time you die, that list is going to be there. And now, if you learn it on the first try, it's going to be nice and easy. If you learn it on the second try, not so. And then if you're on the 15th try, it's going to get harder and harder and harder and harder. And these lessons are going to become more visceral. So I think what you're saying, that those situations aren't arising, is because you've learned the lessons that would have put you into those situations to begin with. And understanding, like I just said, I don't want to kill anything, but that doesn't mean that I won't if I have to, right? So I'm not going to kill the fruit fly that came into my house because he's just living his life. But if someone comes and tries to attack me or my family or put us in a precarious situation, then that's a totally different situation, right? So there's that nuance and time and a place type of thing. So I think understanding, that yes, the goal is to never kill anybody or anything. That would be the goal, my personal goal. Yours may be different, whatever. But understanding that,
I hope not.
yeah, but this is, that we're on this planet where things happen, right? If
Yeah.
all of a sudden war broke out in my neighborhood and they're trying to come into my house, you better believe I'm going to kill every single person that I can trying to get into my house. And I'm not going to feel bad about it, but I'm not going to go out and looking for trouble either. So I think that there's that line of distinction that has to be drawn, where it can't be thou shalt not kill. That's just way too broad and way too general, right? Because there's,
Again, it's for some kind of like boundaries, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah. However,
And how far do
so
we go? Do we not, I mean, if we're being technical here, if we cut down a plant to eat it, we're killing it, right? So, I mean, how far does this go? How far does the thou shall not kill? Is it only humans? Is it only animals? Is it both? Or are plants off limits? Like, how far, where's the thou shall, because you have to kill to survive,
well,
whether it's
I guess
killing a
it
plant
was
or,
more of a decency, right?
right. I mean,
Type
that's
of
what I'm getting
thing.
at. It's not just a blanket statement. It's a nuanced statement,
Yeah.
because yeah, you shouldn't kill, but also we have to survive. So we have to either eat plants that are dying to be
Or protect
consumed,
yourself. Yeah.
or yeah, or protect
And
ourselves, or
so
whatever
this
else.
is it. It killing, let's say, would be considered, is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? It's so questionable.
And it
Depends.
could be
And
both.
so
If you
you
kill a bad
saying
person,
that,
is that a good or a bad thing?
mm, and you saying that yes, I would kill, you're being authentic,
Mhm.
because it's can how do I say it? It can be viewed as good and bad. And so you acknowledging that yes, there is something that I, in certain situations, I would do, which is normally considered as a wrong or immoral and so on, right? You're
Mm.
being authentic. Just because you are accepting both sides, it's not going to happen to you because you're in balance.
Mhm.
So for example, people know this, they're not going to challenge you. Or if they do, they know what they're facing,
Mhm.
right? And so this is exactly it. We have to be in balance, and then things are not going to be happening to you. But if you are strongly in imbalance, like, oh, no, never, ever, I would never kill. And then tomorrow I have this situation. And now,
Right.
are you going to kill? Well, you
Right.
said no, and now you are. So how authentic were you?
Right.
Right.
That's a
So
great way to lay it out.
that's how I just kind of had it gone through my head. So I said it.
Well, and I totally agree with that, because I think that when you're put in, it's easy to stand across the street and watch somebody else's house burn and say that, I would have done this or I would have done that. But when it's your
Exactly.
house, it's a totally different story. And you can sit here and pretend and, be, what do they call them, Monday morning quarterbacks. I don't know if they have the same expression in Canada, but, it's the guys who sit there and watch, the highlights on Monday from the games on Sunday and say, oh, they should have did this or I would have done that. And it's like,
Yes, exactly.
well, you didn't, you
Same
weren't
thing
there.
goes for every single situation. And that's what I think the human life is about. You say
Mhm.
something tomorrow, it happens to you. Now
Mhm.
be the smart one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's that, and I feel like there's this in this, and I don't know if it's just the spiritual community, the religious community, all these different communities of, it's either has to be all light or nothing. Like it's this love and light, and there's no darkness. We avoid all of that. We don't look at that. It doesn't exist to us. We're just all, and it's like, I don't see it as that at all. I see it as an integration of understanding
Exactly.
both sides and understanding how
Um,
both sides are necessary. You can't appreciate the sunshine without, the nighttime. So, or some clouds or whatever it is. You can't, that was one thing I learned when I was in the military. Like, this is going to sound stupid, but being able to sit in a chair again, like after everything, we were sitting on the floor or sitting on the ground, or, we'd be out laying on the ground or sleeping on the ground, just to sit in a comfortable chair and gain that appreciation back of something so, insignificant, and something that everybody takes advantage, for granted every single day of their lives, basically. But just to have that taken away from you and then have that perspective of, well, now I appreciate it a little bit more because I didn't have that. And so I think that's where the darkness, we don't give it enough appreciation for what it shows us of what we don't want, or how we, it can show us, I think, I don't know if it was you I was talking to or somebody else, but we were talking about the alcoholic father with the twin brothers. And, you know, both of them said, one of them ended up being alcoholic and one of them didn't. And both of them said, why are you like that? Because of my father. And so it's like, you can look at it from, I'm a victim of it, or you can look at it as, I'm not going to do that because that's not how I want to be. And I think that's what the darkness shows us is,
mhm.
we either can be a victim of it, or we can say that's how I don't want to be.
Yeah, because if you have strongly oppose something, it's going to confront you.
Right. Hmm.
So um let's say this guy Moses that came, and even like, yeah, this morning I didn't feel all right. So it wasn't like, oh no, it was really no. Anyway, so it came to confront me so that I don't have to be scared, because it will be confronting me again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, like we were saying earlier with the energies, getting you kind of ready to feel that and understand what it feels like. And,
It
because
is here. It is
yeah,
not gonna go.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, because I've tried to imagine a few times, listening to some of these other channelers who have, said they've been on like the Galactic Federation, ships and stuff, and seen all these other beings in person. And, there's these 12-foot tall reptilians and stuff like that. And you try to, stand here and imagine what a 12-foot tall reptilian would look like. And it's hard not to get a little bit afraid, right? If you saw a
Yeah,
12-foot alligator
exactly. Yeah.
standing on its hind legs in front of you, you don't really know what it's capable of or what it's going to do. So, you have that little bit of trepidation. And even just that little bit is keeping them away, because that's one thing they've told me for sure is, any amount of fear that is produced by you because of them, they're not going to stay around. They don't want to scare us at all. They don't want that. So if you're scared at all in any, whether it's in a vibrational level or, mental or whatever it is, they're not going to make contact with you, because that's not what they want. There's enough fear vibration on the planet already. They don't want to increase that.
And then also it is our constructs that we are talking about this, the Greys, the reptilians, even Orion. There is another one,
There's a lot of them.
race, and then they are both good and bad too. They
Yeah.
also have choice. So
Yeah.
even if it's, I don't know, some sort of that was another one, I don't remember. Oh no, but
Anunnaki.
they're good race.
Anunnaki.
Oh yeah, it them and from Mars as well. Like, yeah, and
Mostly,
that's what
yeah.
it is. You are pure light, sure, but you have also choice on planet Earth to decide where you stand. And so they have the
And
right to
that's, you
choose.
heard of fallen angels and stuff like that too. I mean, once you,
Exactly.
and so many people, Sam, the guy I had on my channel a while back, he did a video not too long ago talking about, I'm sure you heard of the 144,000 and stuff that have come here, and not all of them have awakened positively. Everybody
Exactly.
forgets, everybody goes through this process, not everybody is awakened positively. And so you have some fallen angels, you have some that are going the opposite direction now. So it can happen, and it's part of it. So not everybody, remembers who they truly are, or even if, even if they do, you can change who you want to
You can
be or what you
change.
want to do. I
Yeah,
mean,
you can
there's no
change.
permanent proposition either direction.
5 to 12, you can still change.
Mhm.
And also, so I don't think so, but I know that there are, because I have a lot of temptations or traps here, with these little things that we experience as humans, but it could be relationships, right? That I was talking about the last time. So it's like, you are to choose, let's say, between two people or friends or partners or, spouses or something. You're going to choose this one or this one. So for women, a lot of times it's like, am I gonna, this prototype of like sexy man with muscles and whatever, right? Or it's going to be just like a good guy, like pretty average and so on, right? It's like, who are you going to choose, right? Of course, like this prototype of a sexy man, for example, right? But then that can be disguised, and then you're gonna have such a shitty life with this person, right? But that's what you chose because you were, let's say, how do you call it, programmed, for example, right? To choose, this is it because that looks good, right? So the same thing goes for, let's say, let's say you are given option to live this kind of life or that kind of life, and it's like this um agreement with the devil disguised in the good clothing, right? And then you sign up for something and it's just gonna twist your consciousness, and then it's your trap on the ascension. And in the end, you finally realize that, oh, maybe I chose the darkness, but it looked like it's a good life, right?
Well, I think that, yeah, I'm sure that's happened to a ton of people, especially, I mean, if celebrities and some of those other people are waking up, I know, I mean, I've channeled about how, they take their dream and dangle it on the end of a carrot and tell them to do whatever, they have to do to get there. And a lot of them do it, and it's not necessarily that they want to be there or want to do those things, but their dreams are so important to them that they'll do whatever it takes to get there. And and within that too, there's people that I'm sure enjoy every second of it, and I'm sure there's people that hate every second of it, so there's probably a wide spectrum of both. It's just, how much are you willing to do to get what you want?
Mhm.
And everybody's got a different line in the sand and a different amount in the bank account, whatever it is. um but yeah, I would be curious how many of those people that have been through those rituals or some of these, awful things, have awakened and kind of like, what the hell did I do? Or, and how many of them were just like, yeah, this is what I do now. It's interesting, because one thing I've channeled is that the average human would gravitate towards the light naturally without negative interference. So, it's kind of almost a weak-minded thing, if you think about it, who can influence you more, who has more influence over you to draw you to which side, I guess. Is it the side that has to manipulate you constantly, or the side that just kind of stands there and says, you do whatever you want to do and we'll be here when you're ready?
Mm.
And
And that was part of the video too. You can watch the whole thing, or you can like pause it, but that's about it. This entire planet, or like 3D, it's about manipulation, and it comes in very subtle ways.
yeah, well, and
Yeah,
people aren't aware of it. And that's the bottom
no,
line, really, is most people aren't aware how deep it goes. I mean, they're not even aware of the tip of the iceberg, much less how deep that iceberg actually goes. And I mean, that's why you see, they call them useful idiots, and that there's really not
yes,
a better term for them. I mean,
yeah,
if you just parrot everything that you hear on the propaganda station, and you can't discern your own thought from their thought, you're a useful idiot.
too far gone.
Yeah. And I mean, I hope that all of those people still have a chance to realize the error of their ways, and
Probably
but it's a choice too.
it is, because I mean, it's so hard. The easiest way to distinguish is, for me, again, and I believe for a lot of other people who, let's say, are more aware, I am still not as much living up to it though. It's, does it bring you joy, right? Does it feel good? And if
That's
it
hard.
doesn't matter how blinded you are. No, it's
Well,
not. So abandon it. Chances are this is manipulation.
yeah, and the other side of that coin is, just like yesterday, I was telling you, I was sitting here playing music all day, and writing songs, whatever, and it, totally following my joy, doing what I love. But then there's that part of me in the back of my mind that's like, this isn't making you any money. You're not doing anything productive that's, making money, and it's like, so I still have that sort of, and by no choice, really. I mean, we have to pay bills to survive. We have mortgage, and we have all these different things that we have to, so it's, balancing that trust and doing, following your
Of
highest joy and
course,
all these different
yeah.
things it's
you
difficult.
you have to stand on the feet. I mean, with your 2 feet on the ground, obviously. Be be grounded for sure, because
Mm,
joy is very high state. So you
mhm.
are somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Coming down is exactly like, okay, enough is enough, and the regulation of it. But there is no manipulation, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I guess the manipulation would be still that third dimension responsibility that says, hey, you can be joyful as long as you're making money. Like,
Well, but
we only have so
again,
many hours in a day to
is it
make.
different somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, if you go to 6 dimension, 7 dimension, maybe they have their own responsibilities too, that they have to ground themselves somehow. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yes, it is. No matter what, you have you don't have to. You can look at it from, what's the energy, right? So
Mhm.
money is the energy that provides you the safety of having shelter and so on, right? So are you going to act against yourself? No, because then you don't want to be homeless. So it's still
Yeah.
the joy that you get to enjoy it if you come down to your 2 feet and just do what you're supposed to. So again,
Interesting way to
it's
look at
like,
it too.
you
Yeah.
don't screw yourself up, right? But just thinking, but it's all feeling awesome.
Well, actually, it just came to mind when you said that. And it's really reframing, right? It's reframing your situation. And it was a good point you just made. What does give me joy is having a home where I'm comfortable and have food and stuff. So having to do those other things that maybe don't give me joy to get to that, it's kind of that sacrifice. That so reframing that, and so many people don't do that with, a lot, anything in their life, where it's like, yeah, this is bad, but what's the positive that we could look at, from it? Or, like you said before, yeah, you don't like this at all, but the good thing about it is that it shows you what you do and don't like, right? If there's anything positive to come out of it, it shows you what you don't like. So try to reframe things in those situations so that it's not, you know feeling like it's just piling on you, and you're
That's
you're
being
having the weight of the
conscious.
world. Yeah.
Mm.
Instead, look at what it's teaching you, not what is happening to you, what is happening for you. When you can reframe those things, it just makes it a little easier to, process.
And then if you can't, it's good to have somebody to say this to you without feeling being like I'm being manipulated, right? But that's what we used to do. Women would be like, I told you to go get the job so that I can live in comfort. That's manipulation, right?
Yeah.
And so back and forth between these two genders, or I don't know how many. So yeah, is it manipulation, or is it like, no, you keep us safe this way? Like, you have to understand, it's awesome. I love when you are playing on your guitar and when you're making music, but right, you
Yeah.
do have to go out the door to get some.
Well, and I mean, in the ideal world, playing guitar would make me money, and then I wouldn't have to go out the door anymore. That's what I'm
But it
trying to
always
figure out, is how to
doesn't.
create that ideal
Yeah,
flow of income from following your highest joy. And I think once I can figure out that, then that'll be the true. I mean,
exactly.
that'll probably be somewhere in the fifth dimension. But
Exactly. I mean, but again, it doesn't always happen to everyone or for everyone, right?
yeah,
Being a musician. For
yeah.
some, it is just a hobby and it stays like this. And then you go to a local, I wouldn't call it a pub, but let's say pub. And then you are happy to do that. You're not a world famous musician earning only from that. But
Oh yeah.
anyway,
If you do music for money, you're insane anyway, because there's so few people that actually make any kind of real money from it.
and then
But
also, do
yeah.
you want to be the world famous musician who is nothing but manipulated, nothing but taken advantage of, nothing but
Well,
has to submit to some kind of contracts that are not always healthy, right? So,
but that's the thing, is I think this new world that we're trying to create, and at least me personally, what I'm trying to create for myself is I'm in charge. That's why I do everything. I produce the music, I record it, I distribute it. There's no other hands that touch any part of it. So they can't tell me what to do. And if I happen to make money off of that in the future, then I don't have to worry about being responsible to anybody else except for myself, because I'm the one who created all of it. And that's where I think everybody needs to start. If you're truly looking for freedom, and this is what I came to the conclusion of last year sometime, freedom on this planet is money. That's the bottom line. Freedom is money, because regardless if you don't want to have a job or you don't want to do, you can be free that way, but you're not really free, because you can only do what you can do with no money and no place to live and no transportation. Money is freedom. And I hear so many people, oh, money's the root of all evil, money's this, money's that. Money is freedom. When you have enough money, I mean, look at rich people. Do they go to jail? Do they get to do whatever they want? They have true freedom. They are not susceptible to the same laws as you and I. A fine to one of us who doesn't have any money is a huge deal. A fine to somebody who's rich is no big deal. So it's a totally different lifestyle. It's freedom. And that's where we need to change our outlook on what is freedom. And now there's freedom. Sure, there's people who make a shit ton of money and they are not free at all, right? Because they're working 18, 20 hours a day to have this shit ton of money that they don't have any time to spend. So it's that balance of finding something that you can make money off of that makes you free in that way, but also being free with your time,
yeah,
because that's
money
one thing
is
that's way
freedom.
overlooked.
That's holy truth.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what do you do with that money? It's because you can also do a lot of bad things with that money, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Well,
have money, so I'm gonna bridge this, I don't know, law, and I'm going to, I don't know, corrupt these people, and I don't know,
I think money is just like alcohol. Money, all it does is bring out more of your true character.
yes,
So if
yeah,
you're
exactly.
going to be somebody like that, regardless if you have money or not, it's just going to bring it out more.
So
The
purity or corruption.
Yeah. So if you're a corrupt person, you're going to be more corrupt. If you're a benevolent person, you're going to be more benevolent, because now you have more money to give.
And
So I
then
just,
that's probably with everything. Even we can talk about sex, drugs, food. I'm not sure, distribution of your sources, whatever you have, right? Either you corrupt other people
mm-hmm.
or you give other people just as much freedom as you have
Right.
with that.
And I think that that's really the goal of where we're heading is, you know, one theme that I've heard come up so often over this past year is how people are sick of working for a place that if they died, they would just be looking for somebody else to replace them immediately and not even really care that they were gone. And I think that that's part of this whole, yeah, money's important and all those things too, but working in a place where somebody actually cares if you're healthy or if you're happy, or, that there's a big difference in how your whole day goes, like regardless how much money you make. There's something to be said for being able to go to a job and be happy and come home happy every day, as opposed to being miserable and, regardless how much money you make. And I think
Totally
that that's where
dismissed,
stuff is,
and yeah,
yeah, and that gets
not even
lost in our
acknowledged.
society. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've
So
always been motivated more by happiness than by dollar bills. So, but coming to the conclusion that money does buy freedom is kind of,
that's no doubt. I think we just have money. That's something we have to accept.
Mhm,
Everything you get is by having or not having money. And
right.
remember when I was talking about safety, that's, I think, um,
That's your
when you
safety.
are corrupted, you don't really care about the safety of the other people, maybe not even your own,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, you care
So
about making
yeah,
money. Yeah, I mean, you see, and that's how like capitalism has got such a bad rap and certain things. And obviously we don't live in a true capitalist society. We live
I
in a
think
corporative
every
society,
single
but
political system is just not
they're all awful, but
completely.
capitalism's the best one. I mean, if you had to lay it out, I mean, because capitalism is the only one that you're reliant on yourself. That's the only person that if you do good, then you do good. And every other system, somebody else has to do good for you to survive, even. So it's very much dependent on the rest of people. And we're assuming the best in people, which I've met people and I wouldn't assume to do that, because human nature is a motherfucker.
But then you remember you have problems asking for help and receiving. So
Yeah.
that's why you're
Well,
looking at it. And I think I feel a little bit of goodness, radicalism in your perception,
how so?
because you're pretty strong in this like independence,
Yes.
depending on yourself, doing everything for yourself. And that's great. I'm not saying that you're only doing everything by yourself, right? I mean, you are in some union, and then that is not independence, right? So I understand that you have pretty like healthy point of view on these things, but some people may understand that you don't want anything and anybody. You just do everything for yourself by yourself because you don't want the dependence, right? Which is the capitalism, which is the you producing everything and so on. But you do need, I'm not saying, okay, so it's not codependency or dependency. Let's call it collaboration, right?
Well, that's what I was just going to say. So the way I like to look at it is, if you were thrown into the middle of the woods by yourself, could you survive? And if you couldn't, then you're not independent. If you
Mm-hmm.
could, then you're independent. Now, throw in 10 other people there. Could you survive with them? Are they adding or subtracting from your problem?
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it, is throw me in the middle of the woods, I'll survive by myself, no problem. You throw in some other people that I can collaborate with, let's work together and make it even better. So I can do it all by myself, and I prefer to, just because of my experiences with how, let's just say, the pace of how some other people work. I don't like being, subjected to the pace of other people. When I want to do something, I want to do it now until it's done. And then I want to, move on to the next
Yeah.
thing, and not be waiting 6 months for somebody else to do their part, or, whatever else. Like, that's the part that drives me
Got
insane.
you.
If you want
That
to come
that's
apart and work at my pace, let's do it. I'm all for it.
well, and that's maybe what it's teaching you, maybe
Patience. I know.
tolerance,
I know it is. And
patience
I've,
or something. Yeah.
yeah, but it's still frustrating because it's like, and for an example, like, I've been working on this album for quite some time now. My part's been done for a while, still waiting for the other guy to finish his parts and stuff. But through this process of me becoming impatient with it, it's shown me some other things that maybe I wouldn't have got to maybe I wouldn't have done if I hadn't had to wait and kind of play around with things and just kind of, so I do appreciate that, and I'm learning that aspect of it, but I also am very much like when I work, I don't take breaks. My break is when I'm done. And so when other people want to take a break every 15 minutes and go, they got to sit down. And I'm like, dude, I'll sit down when this is over. Like, we'll move this whole house before I sit down and take a break. I'm not doing that. Like, that's just
You're
how
so funny.
yeah,
I love that.
I don't
Oh,
like
goodness.
how people,
No,
they want to drag things. Like, I'm all about, here's what I have to do. So this is going to get done before I do anything else. That way I don't ever have to worry about that thing again, and I can just enjoy the rest of my time. Instead of, here's this thing that has to get done. Now I do a little bit of it and I take a break, and then I still have this huge thing that's weighing over me. It's psychologically, it's not good for anybody to have things hanging, get done the things that you have to get done. Then it's off your mind. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It prevents
um well,
procrastination.
that's also good that you're learning this, because then you choose who you want to collaborate, who you don't. So it's not
Right.
necessarily that you prefer to do everything by yourself, but based on your experiences, you do. Once you
Right.
find the right
I'm all for
people that are
collaboration.
kind of the same pace, kind of the same structure, kind of the
Right.
same, you know, uh, on the same page with you, basically,
Yeah.
then
Same
it's not
frequency.
going to feel like what you sort of radically
Yeah.
gravitate towards. And I'm the same, actually. I was always thinking what you just described is, that's why I don't, I can go on and on and on for hours, is because I truly enjoy it.
Hmm.
But maybe it's also my style, my dedication, and other things looked at or described as values.
Yeah.
Right. And no, I would totally understand. I
And
mean, I
work
totally
ethic
understand
too
when
is,
you're talking about like the interruption in each 15 minutes, is because it would drive me crazy as well.
yeah.
Right.
And some people have to operate that way. Like
And some people have to.
I did a friend, or I was helping a friend. He had to replace his floor in his kitchen, and literally this job probably could have taken like 4 hours. And the first day we didn't even do anything. And I'm like, dude, we're just wasting time. Like, we're taking breaks, we're doing this. Like, I want to get this done. Like, I don't want to be here working with you the whole weekend on something that could have taken
Yeah.
4 hours.
Well, maybe that's not their thing, because I'm thinking what it is for me could be cooking, right? Like, that's just not my thing. And maybe I take time to actually stand up and go and do it, and so on and so on, right?
Hmm.
And but at the same time, once I get the hang of certain dishes, for example, it's like nothing.
Right.
So it's kind of questionable, but it's just an example, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hey, that's probably not your thing. Did you realize? So let me do it. You go do something else, or not at all. Don't even start. Or just like, can you think of some other things that you can maybe be beneficial for this society?
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard when it's somebody else's project that they've asked you to help on, and then you're just
Yeah,
kind of like, dude, we could have been done 2 days ago. And you're
yeah,
just dragging this out. And or another issue that I have sometimes is like over planners, people who never get out of the planning phase into the doing phase. And it's like, we could have been done by the time you finish your plan here. Like, I am very much, I don't know, I've said it before, I'm sure, on this, but jump off the cliff and then figure out how you're getting down on the way down. Like, just start doing it and then figure it out as you go. And that's how all my music starts. Anything I do creatively, I just start doing and then see where it goes.
see where it goes.
Yeah.
So for me, when it comes to these songs that we wanted to, it's because I never, okay, so let's say singing. I was
Mhm.
just like, stand here and just start singing, right? I
Mhm.
never had to worry about the assemble, what kind of microphone, where to get it from, where to put it, and how to like plug it in and where, and so on, right? So for me, it's like, I have no clue. But if I get just like, I would have to be told, just do this, and I'm done, right?
Yeah.
But should I do it by myself? Probably, right? Look it
Well,
up,
see,
maybe play some videos, do a research, go get
definitely.
it, and so on, right? But for me, it's like, that is so masculine. It's tough, right?
That makes
So,
sense. Yeah.
but then other things, like I could be painting. So my kids were like, oh, can we repaint this to different color, these walls? And I did not, once I started painting this apartment, I did not stop until it was finished.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. And it felt so satisfying. So, it's like, if somebody is asking you to, I don't know, create some sort of like a doll's house, right? Do you have an interest in creating or constructing a doll's house? No, you don't. You don't even know how to get there and so on. But um, do you like constructing? Do you like building? Yes, you do. So you kind of do it, right? So I do love singing, but I never was, I don't know, I never experienced the technical side of things.
Mm.
So I didn't have to worry about it. That's why it's so like, what? Oh goodness, even just to think about, this process is like, I'm already exhausted,
I get it. And,
Yeah.
but that's one thing that I kind of find funny, and people, and maybe I do, maybe I learn things faster, and I don't know, maybe it is easier
Maybe.
for me, whatever. But so many people just assume that it's this like these innate abilities that I have, that I just, I know how to use these programs and that's why I'm good at it, or I know how to use what, like I put so much time and effort and practice and reading and researching and all these other things into it behind the scenes, that it makes it look easy once I get to the final product. But there's, I knew absolutely the exact same amount as you do right now, a year and a half ago. And now I'm doing what I'm doing. So it's, it wasn't that I just all of a sudden was like, oh, I'm going to do this. Now I know everything and I'm going to, so it was, you know, and now that I don't work there anymore, I don't care. But all day at work, I would just watch YouTube videos on how to, record, or what I do this, or what does this mean, or what does that do, or what is this? And, so it was, literally a year of education of 8 hours a day almost of, going through this stuff and learning. And now I'm to the point where it looks easy and I know what I'm doing. So I think it's that, it's the same thing I've said. I think I was talking to the other guy that I just did the podcast with, I don't know how many times over my, time that I've been playing guitar, I've had people like, oh, can you teach me how to play guitar? Sure, let's do it. And then immediately after they see that they're not as good as my 20 plus years of practice have made me, that they're not there in 10 seconds, they're like, oh, this is hard. Like, this takes practice. And then they give up. And it's like, yeah, I started where you were, and now I'm where I am because I practiced every day of my life for 2+ hours a day.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I just picked it up and all of a sudden I was phenomenal. And I'm not saying I'm phenomenal, I'm decent.
No, I get it. Well,
But
in comparison to other people, you are. In comparison to some other, you aren't. Maybe, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I just don't want to, I'm not
Doesn't
gonna,
matter, but yes,
yeah.
it's the idea of commitment.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
And
what so many people fail to realize, is that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of practice. It's not
it
just,
is.
I wanted to
And
do it and I'm good.
anything. How
Mhm.
did I get to have 14-year-old son is because we had to go through day by day from him being a newborn till today, right?
Right.
So it's also, parenting is the same thing. It's a practice. It's not like I was born with this and I was,
Yeah.
super
Nobody knows what
cool
they're doing.
since the beginning. I'm so much better now, and I still fail as a freaking parent. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and that's
and
such an interesting concept too, because what constitutes failing as a parent? Because I would say that you could go to both extremes, right? Like, I don't know if you heard, I guess there was some school shooting in Michigan not too long ago or
mm,
something, and now they're charging the parents, apparently.
I don't know what happened, but I did mention that to you. You said you don't know.
I don't, like I said, I'm so
So
tuned
it's
out, but
like
I did
kids were
hear that they
shot.
were, I don't know, I guess there was a school shooting, but now they're trying to charge the parents in it. So it's like, did the
Because
parents do such a bad job that, because I know that we've said things to our kids a million times and then they've still done them wrong. So it's like, are you a bad parent because your kid doesn't listen to you? Are you, so how are you a failed parent if maybe you just have a bad kid? Maybe your kid incarnated to be an evil person. Like, we don't know the whole, if we want
yeah.
to, everybody assumes their kid's the greatest in the world because they're their kid, obviously, but
Well, I
maybe it's a
guess it's
bad person, or maybe
because
it
the parents are still officially or by law, or legally responsible. So that's the only thing.
Well, I was just using that as an example of saying, did they
Get
fail as
it?
parents, or did they just have a kid that was sucks? I mean, some
Yeah,
kids just
yeah.
suck. Like some people suck. Like it is what it is. And to say that those parents are responsible, or maybe they told him every day, and tried to do everything they could, and he just ended up being a psychopath.
Yeah,
And I mean, me personally, knowing how things go, I don't think that it's anywhere near what the actual story is. I was just using that as an
I
example.
get
My
it. I mean, there's
school
so much
shootings
that
are done on purpose. We'll just leave it at that.
there was another event that happened. They were rebuilding, renovating a school of my younger son because he's in elementary. My older son is in high school, so it's two different buildings. So they're the building of the elementary school. They were rebuilding it, and this 17-year-old was smoking pot, and then he, I don't know, what, I don't know, but I guess, threw it on the ground and it started a fire or something. So the whole, like half of the school that was still not finished got burnt again,
Oh wow.
right? So he's severely charged, but then he does come from a family that is like pretty, there's negligent issues and all that, right? So, I mean, you definitely do blame the parents because that kid straight away, straight or got it straight because of the condition of the, family that put him on this path for sure. Anyway, so there are so many things that, we can always
Yeah.
what analyze.
Yeah. Well, and that's where nuance is so important. It just is so lost in our society. I feel like that, like I said before, everything has to be black or white. Everything has to be right or wrong. There's no, in between. Sometimes things just happen. Sometimes, there's things that has nothing to do with the parents. The parents could have been the best parents in the world and just happen to be a shitty kid on a shitty day. Or maybe
Yeah,
they were the worst parents in the world. And, you really never
could
know.
be somebody manipulated them into it or something, I don't know. And
Mhm.
do you remember the case with Madeline? I'm not sure what's her last name, and the parents that went to Portugal for vacation and then she got abducted
I
and
feel
they
like my
never
wife
found
watched
her.
some Netflix series about that or something.
So long ago, like super
Yeah.
long ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they never, they they said that parents constructed it and so on, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I have chills, but again, it's like, oh my God, do we have to as a society go into this, right? I don't know, but I think every parent, you would never have your, I don't know, have some danger happen to your child. So, but it was so gross to see how these news were like, the parents are to blame and so on. I mean, you go to Portugal to this very fancy resort, you believe that there is some sort of security,
Yeah.
and there wasn't, right? Because
Well,
that's
that's the
exactly where the richest people would be. So that's where the crime happens, right? A lot of times.
yeah. Well, and I think that's the kind of, false sense of security that's been sort of derived in the Western world, is that we assume that every place is the same as,
Yeah.
what we enjoy. And it's just not the case.
So
And
the same with parents. Maybe they had the guns in the safe. I don't know. I'm just assuming, and they thought it's fine and all that. And yeah, as you say, the kid just couldn't help it by wanting to get to it and so on. So they did, and so that's what they created or something. I don't know, right?
yeah.
Yeah. But is
And,
it wrong? No. In the States, you can have guns, right? That's legal. So and so and so. Yeah.
and hopefully we see why now, based on what's happening in Australia and other places.
What's happening?
Yeah. The internment camps and all these things going on in Australia. It's basically just a giant prison again, like it was originally.
Oh goodness, prisons. Oh yeah. So do your guides tell you something about like changing of this aspect of our society, putting people in prisons and like um in Africa they chain people because they believe they're possessed by demons if they have some kind of mental conditions or like difficulties. So horrible.
Yeah, I've never asked anything like that about, I mean, my first thing that comes in my head obviously is that they don't want people imprisoned, especially for half of the things that people are in prison for these days. I mean, I feel like prison is necessary to an extent. I believe that there are some people that don't belong in society. I truly believe that. Um, but I feel like one prison would probably be enough for the whole United States. In reality, we need like the worst of the worst people in there, and that's probably a handful of people, right? I mean, it's not, you know, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's more, but me, I would take out anybody that's in there for drugs. I would take out anything that's non-violent. I would take out immediately. Any kind of stupid, arbitrary laws that somebody broke, that some politician wrote so that he could line the pockets of his, constituents. Those laws would be immediately, there would be nobody in jail for those things. Murderers, rapists, then that's about it, really. And the rest would be, you'd have to do something pretty bad, I would say. I mean, I get, robbery and theft and those sort of things, sure. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think that the things, I think we've been sold a bill of goods in society about how bad society really is. That's my honest belief. I think that in general, society is mostly good people, and there are people who are kind of in the middle that get manipulated in one direction or another. And I just don't see, I see there being more actions being done because of the situation that society has put people into. If you take away somebody's ability to feed their family, then you're kind of
Don't
taking the,
expect
yeah,
anything
you're
good from
taking the
it.
reins off of people, right? You're kind of, anything goes at that point, because people are going to do what it takes to survive and keep their family alive. So not having money to feed your kids, or whatever the situation is, you lost your job, I think those things are all much more factors, as opposed to there just being these criminally insane people who want to hurt people. I think that's such a small percentage of the population, and I think the rest is, kind of, I don't want to say victim because they made the choice, but you are put in certain circumstances in life and you have to react one way or the other, and most people are going to choose survival.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
the
kind of, when it
instinct.
comes
Yeah.
down to that, things happen, people steal, people, break into places and get money, or so those type of things happen, you know as a product of the society that we live in. So it is what it is. But I think eventually, if we get to a society where there isn't such a discrepancy between the haves and the have nots, you would see a huge reduction in crime across the board.
I think we were trying to make it right many times by these different political systems, trial and error. And so yeah, I think that we've learned. So we're gonna maybe become more um social, but in a healthy kind of structure.
Well, and here's the
Uh,
other part of that too, as we've talked about before, with like telepathy and moving into the 5D and stuff like that. Like, how much of these violent acts or different things are caused out of confusion or misinterpretation or misunderstandings too, based on just like we were talking about earlier, and we're both agreeing on the same thing, but we're kind of arguing, saying our own piece, but yet we're saying the same thing, right? And so there's that, and you speak English great, and but there's still the little bits of barriers, or maybe the like we've talked about before, like eye contact in certain countries is considered disrespectful, for where other countries it's disrespectful not to have eye contact. And handshakes or different gestures or things can mean completely different things to different people. So I think,
the identification, right?
yeah,
Strongly to certain views, that's
right,
what we have to let go of.
yeah. So
Um,
I think all of those things attribute to kind of the violence that we see in society, or different things. But I would say, if I had to put a finger on it, I would say most of it is, and I'm not trying to give people excuses or anything like that. I'm just, being objective and saying, if you can't feed your family, that's going to cause problems for people. And I'm one of those people. If I can't
obviously,
feed my family, I'm going to do what I have to do. Right. So, I think that it is what it is. And, when you have a,
especially if you see that other people have so much money by how they got there by doing certain things, and then you're like, that's not fair,
and see, I've never been
right?
that person. I've never looked at somebody else, and I think that's part of our problem is, instead of, so I think what we've created in society is, there's the haves, right? And then the have nots. And instead of the have-nots wanting to be the haves, they want everybody to be the have-nots. And so I don't agree with that type of thinking in any way. I think the point one, I don't think that we should sit here and covet, other people's stuff and say, we should say, I want to, maybe use it as motivation to attain that level of lifestyle, but nobody should be there. Nobody should have that stuff.
No, no,
Nobody
no.
needs that,
That's
and I
it's not
think that
exactly
just
what I
creates this.
meant,
No, I know. I was just trying to clarify for,
but it's like
because,
the drug dealers, right? Well, they are bathing in money, and that's not quite the way to get money. That's
but
all.
now let's take a zoomed out look of society here, right?
Sure. I get
They're
it.
entrepreneurs, right? I mean, you
No,
can
but
say what
let's
you
say
want
if
about drugs, that they're good, bad, or indifferent, but let's look at reality here. All it is that you have your pharmacists and your doctors who are the legal drug dealers, and then you have the illegal drug dealers who don't pay taxes. That's really the only difference if you're looking at it from a societal perspective. They don't
true.
give a shit who dies from what drug or whatever else it
I
happens. They
was
care
just
about who's paying taxes and who's making the money off of it.
yeah, I was just referring to the person who wants, but for some reason the circumstances are they can't, let's say, get the money by working, and so they are, you know, they're not securing, they're not able to provide for the family. That's
Yeah.
all, right?
Yeah.
Because
And it
something
drives
is
people to do
preventing them. Like
something.
somebody created this war, they can't because there's like half of the country is blown away. So, that is something that I didn't cost myself, but I am living in these circumstances. Now,
Right.
how is that fair to me? And yeah, that's 3D world, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying exactly that's a really good perception, but if you do want, obviously it's not like you are pointing fingers, so you have too much and you shouldn't. No, that's not um okay, because this is how they got it, this is what they have them have it and have
Yeah.
them enjoy it, right? Why not?
Right.
Do I need 50 billions? No, I don't. But if I live in a place where they tell me until you get vaccinated you can't go out of your house, because that's what's supposed to be from 15th of December in Canada.
Oh, really?
Well, that's a wrong thing. I do need to, let's say, feed my family, pay the bills, and if I can't go to work because I freaking don't subscribe to this, then it's not my decision, I'm my free will, right?
Yeah.
You're
And
jeopardizing me, and that's not fair, because if I do have that money and I can buy this law, it's awesome, but I don't have the money, I cannot buy the law, I have to submit to it, anyway. So but yeah, that's all I thought.
no, and I agree with that to a large extent, but I also I think that going to the law thing, laws only work if you obey them, right? So if everybody says we're not participating in this law, and I don't know how Canada is, I don't know what your government system is, but in America, we give the consent to the government to govern us. So if we say we don't consent to this law, then there is no law. If there's any law that contradicts the Constitution, then that law is null and void. And the only reason that you can enforce it is if you obey it. And so that's on you. And not knowing that and not understanding your rights and all these things, I mean, it's, you see why the public education system is the way it is. But they can write every single law in the book, tell you it's illegal to breathe, tell you it's illegal to go outside, do all these things. The only way that it's valid is if you comply. That's it. If everybody complies, then it's a law. If nobody complies, then it's not a law. So you
Yeah,
decide what the laws are.
absolutely. Canada is constructed by immigrants who come from countries that are doing so much worse, so they're kind of like grateful to be here, so they rather comply and obey. And then for many, this B thing is still like, my gosh, if I'm still back home, I would probably be already dead. Now I do have the prerogative to get the vaccine for free. Anyway, so yeah, yeah. But
And I just want to say this,
yeah.
because whoever's listening, if something is free, you are the product. Just remember that.
Now,
That's marketing 101, just so you know.
the 15th is very interesting date. So December 14th. That's what something we could talk about next time.
Sure. I don't know anything. I mean, if you just want to wrap, since we mentioned it, because I don't know anything about it, maybe other people do. I just read somebody channeled something about 3 days of darkness circa the 14th of December. So don't know anything about it other than that. I've heard about this 3 days of darkness for at least a year now, from different channelers and stuff, that some people said it's going to happen. Some people said it's going to be this crazy thing. And that's where I kind of question, because of the fear that creates with that kind of proclamation.
Yeah, if you take it that way, it's a fear. Yes, sure.
So I mean, you just say 3 days of darkness. I don't care who you are or what you're doing. What the hell is that? That's going to create some
What
sort of
kind of
fear in you.
darkness do you believe? Like it's gonna get really dark, you know?
Oh no, from what I understand, they're literally blocking out the sun for 3 days. So like no light for 3 days.
Hmm.
So the channel message that I had read had something that I think it was channeled from the Andromedans. It said, and that they're going to basically take a giant ship and park it and create a eclipse from that ship, because there's going to be some sort of solar flare or something, and they're trying to block the energy from coming to the earth to some effect.
And it's going to change to the sixth sun.
To what?
The sixth sun?
I haven't heard of that. What's that?
It's the new earth.
Oh, okay.
The
Yeah, and that's
new
kind of what it was
cycle.
saying. But like I said, I've heard about this 3 days of darkness for so long, and then I've heard that it's not true, and then I've heard this. So I just keep hearing contradicting stories, and I have never channeled anything personally about it. So I, take it for what it's worth, I guess.
How about I mean, I did, so you can watch the video.
You channeled about it.
Pardon?
You said you channeled about it.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
But it's the sun, the sixth sun, and the new cycle.
Okay.
Now something is clicking, but I do have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I do have my singing session at 12.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, but we do need to like kind of research more. I don't know whether to say research, and then we definitely can talk about it. And I would really love you to watch the video.
Yeah. The one right here, Marina Saren.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it pulled up so I can watch it.
So yeah, no, for the lullabies for sure, I do want to move on, but now I do have kind of like how would I say it, push. Yeah, it's something that I've struggled, and I'm so free of it. Certain things happen. That's something I can tell you later too.
Yeah.
Apart from this whole blowout of my heart.
Yeah.
But so Thursday, you want to meet up on Thursday again?
Sure.
We don't have to stay long, but yeah.
Yeah. I want to meditate today and see if I get any information about the 3 days of darkness or anything like that. So
it's more likely, to be honest. Some things are, yeah, I'm putting together from like this part and this part and this part, and then different sources, and it's like, what? So it's funny.
Yeah. So I'm curious too, and I've heard it from different sources as well. But like I said, every time I've heard it, it's kind of been different. Some people said everybody's going to be paralyzed for 3 days, and you're not going to be able to move, and like all this other crazy stuff. And I'm like, and then people are like, don't go outside. And so I'm like, it just resonates in fear so much that I'm not sure to trust it, or So it's just kind of a. But I'll meditate on it today and see what I get, and see if I will have anything to share on Thursday when we can resume.
Yeah, let me know. And yeah, I'm not sure what to say. Whew. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So we'll enjoy your singing lesson, and
Thank
we'll
you.
meet up again on Thursday.
Take
See
care.
everybody later. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.